everybody, Cal Banyan here, Cal Banyan's Hypnosis, etc., and with the final episode in this series with Elronn Ferguson. If you're watching this video anywhere else or listening to the audio form of it anywhere else, go to calbanyan.com now, because right below this video is all kinds of supporting information. Perhaps there's some graphics and links that you're going to want to see that'll add value and quality to this particular broadcast, podcast thingy. Let me tell you about Elronn. Elronn Ferguson, he is serious about this stuff. He is a true one percenter, and oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Very young, I'm not going to say his age, you have to watch a past episode to get that information. I'm not going to rub salt in the wound, so to speak. But someone as young as him having this much information and background is just amazing. He's going to go far in the profession, unless he takes up astrophysics or something like that and just dumps the whole hypnosis idea. But anyway, if I knew someone in Orange County or anywhere in the world that was willing to, give him an airplane ticket to help him out, like, I don't know, Nigeria. Nigeria is a good place. Then he's the one I would recommend if I couldn't see them myself. All right. How you doing, Elronn?
I'm doing good, Cal.
I've given you better introductions, haven't I?
Oh, absolutely. They just get better every time. I think I'm just trying to think, okay, what's he going to say about my personal life this time? I got no secrets, Cal.
Not from me.
I ain't got nothing to hide, baby. Being a one percenter is where it's at. And yes, I am young for the profession, but, I got Cal in my corner rooting for me, so that's pretty awesome. Thanks, Cal. And
cheers. Like
we were talking about, I don't know if you mentioned it just now recently, what we're talking about is the experiences, what I gleaned from going through the 5-path process myself, and some of the insights that I picked up and how I'm implementing that with my clients, and how it's given me a little bit of a shifted mindset on how I approach things with my clients. What we did is we recently wrapped up the age regression part of it, which lasted the last 3 episodes, and now we're going to go into the next 2 phases, which are forgiveness of others and forgiveness of self, which is phase 3 and phase 4. Now, we didn't go into the 5th phase, which is parts mediation therapy, because, well, I might come back for another session. We might have to do that. It's for secondary gain issues. Cal made a joke before this episode, said, yeah, why don't we just do the session and that'll be the episode. Sorry to disappoint.
I think we should just put the audios from your session on the internet. And everyone
we'll just put them on the internet, Wow, that guy can cry. No, actually, I didn't cry as much as I thought I would.
And beat the bejeebies out of my pillow. I had to go out and get a new pillow. Was that
bad? We were all covered in dust, I had to cover up my mouth. It was great. It was an awesome experience, because it's not how you feel during the session. It's how you feel after you leave. That's why we get paid the big bucks, isn't it, Cal?
Sometimes it just has to hurt so good.
It hurts so good. Pain is love returning, as John Ray used to say. So, forgiveness of others. After we're done with the age regression part of the process, where we take the client back to their childhood, make everything better, and neutralize the fears and misconceptions, we want to move into dealing with the major players that were associated with the cause of the problem, and put to rest any unfairness which has caused the client to hold on to residual anger that's causing them to overreact in different parts of their life, whether it's to overreact by holding back or being overreactive. We want to be able to neutralize that anger inside of the client. If it's a painful feeling that is causing their symptom to get worse or their behavior to get worse, we neutralize it with forgiveness of others.
All right, let me interrupt here. Yeah. I want to give credit where credit's due. Yep. The first time I ever heard, and maybe if you guys have got other information, but the first time I ever heard of forgiveness being used in this way in hypnotherapy process was Jerry Kine. And one day when I was over at his house, I said, Jerry, how did you ever get the idea of, doing the forgiveness work in hypnotherapy? And he told me a story. Then here's the micro version of it, is that he was doing age regression work with a lady, and it seemed like the insight aspect of the work, informing child, was not enough. And he just simply asked the client, well, what do you need to do to be able to get over this? And she said, well, I suppose I would have to forgive the SOB. And we all know what SOB stands for. That's some other body, right? And and so he says that's the beginning for him using it. And as he does it now, he calls it chair therapy. And it's very much like what psychologists are familiar with, the Fritz Perls chair therapy work. And one of the big differences between Jerry Kind's approach, and the Five Pathers approach is, my understanding is that Jerry Kind tends to use it more mixed in with the age regression, and I found that to be harder to master, harder to teach, harder to supervise, and so on. And what I did is I took it out of the age regression, said let's finish age regression first, and then let's do the forgiveness work. And so I took it out of the age regression, created a different phase. And if anyone out there knows of anyone doing forgiveness work in hypnotherapy prior to that, you can let me know. All right, proceed.
One of the things I gleaned out of the way that Cal did things that I've taken forward into my clients is, so there you are, eliciting the anger out of the client so that they can express the anger to the point where it's exhausted, in which case we're able to unlock the insight that's inside of the client that's going to allow them to forgive the offender who is associated with the cause of the problem. Let's see. Should I talk about how we do that real briefly, Cal?
Why don't you just give a thumbnail sketch of it?
Thumbnail sketch. Thumbnail sketch. We have the client hallucinate, because after all, they're deep enough to hallucinate, being the other person, so we can get the perspective, the alternate perspective, and unlock the insight using the 10 keys to forgiveness. Perhaps there might be a link down underneath to the 10 keys to forgiveness where we want to get understanding, intent, we want them to be sorry, all these kind of things that the client was previously unable to accept that insight, because after all, when you're really angry, do you really want to hear the other person's side? I don't think so. So it's in that order. We express the anger, get the insight, and then we have the person ask for forgiveness so that we're able to ascertain that forgiveness as well. And one of the most important things about the forgiveness that we have is we remind the client that, hey, when this other person leaves the room, because we have them hallucinate being in a room, right, in the chair therapy, as Cal was saying, and when they leave the room, they're going to forget all about it. The forgiveness isn't for them. They might not deserve it. The forgiveness is for you, after all. And then the client is able to be free of those feelings. One of the things that I've carried through into my practice was just the importance of getting the client to express that anger in its entirety from the very deepest level possible. And let's say that they're really expressing the anger. They're saying things that are very strong. They're beating the pillow, because we have them beat a pillow to physiologically express that anger faster. And they're beating it and they're beating it, and it seems like they're just going at the steady pace. They're just doing it. They're mad. They're beating it. They're getting that anger out. But once again, as we've been saying in some of these previous episodes, watching your client and knowing or picking up on the signals that they're not really giving it their all. There's a deeper level underneath there. And something that Cal does, he goes, I want you to focus on the inside. Something along this effect, because I don't remember, because, I was experiencing it. Something along the effect of, I want you to focus on the inside of you. There's a deeper feeling in there. And I want you to just focus on that. Because after all, what you focus on grows. Focus on the center of yourself, where the core of that feeling really begins. And contact, and just really get in touch with that feeling. And once again, I carry this over to my clients, and they're able to really find their voice, and then some of that real deep hurt, some of that real deep anger, and the real core of the emotion, and not just the surface level stuff, starts to come out. And when they do it, they find their voice, and you want to encourage them for that. You want to praise them for that. That's it. Now you found your voice. Now you're doing it. You were just scratching the surface. Now you're doing it. And always praise your clients for really contacting those very, very, very deep emotions, because after all, we have to get them expressed if we're going to get that insight in there to the same level of depth right? It's an equal level of depth. If you get those emotions out at the very deepest level, then the insights that are uncovered will go right there to the very deepest level. And we talk about building the platter of pain, right? What's put on the platter of pain, that is all the times that they've been hurt by this person who's associated with the cause of the problem. Well, all those things are the things that are then able to be released, forgiven, let go, and don't bother the client and aren't projected into their lives anymore. So, moving on. Talking about, I mean, that's pretty much all I want to say about phase 3 for now. I might come back to that in a little bit, okay? Because now I'm going to talk about phase 4, which is after we've dealt with the forgiveness of others, the people that are associated with the cause of the problem. We want to put the person's self in that chair, forgiveness of self, which is phase 4. Because after all, everywhere you go, there you are. Right? There's a common denominator in your life with all the bad things that have happened to you, and that's you, right? Every time you look in the mirror, it's that mistake-making part of you. Okay, so we're able to set this up in the same chair therapy setup that we used before and do pretty much the same approach, where they express the anger, we get the insight, unlock the understanding, and are able to get them to forgive themselves. Now, something I've carried forward into my sessions that I got out of this was, and this also relates to the last phase as well, something that I found Cal took the extra time to do is right before the forgiveness part of the process to really make the case and talk to the client kind of matter-of-factly while you're setting up the forgiveness that, all the benefits that you want out of this session are going to come to you after you forgive this person. And, what do smokers do when they have pain inside? They smoke. What do drinkers do when they have pain inside? They drink. What do procrastinators do when they have pain inside? They procrastinate. If you really forgive this person, let's say yourself, if you can really forgive yourself, fully, completely, 100%, because we want to have, the reason that we've divided these processes like this and not just combined it all into one thing is we want to have the most thorough, deepest level of forgiveness possible. Okay, however, it's a saying that we have is, however much forgiveness you've experienced inside today is how much better you feel inside. And what I've done is taken the extra time to do just that, just build the case and say, when you forgive this part of you, this person, you really get to be free. You really get to be in control of your life and start to name those benefits that have been in your notes, okay, for the changes that they want to make, and then really encourage them to do that and build that case and do the check. You want to add anything to this, Cal?
Well, I think one of the things that is you're not just talking about the forgiveness of self. You're talking about that this is really important to make this case that this forgiveness is not for the offender if you're doing forgiveness of others, and that the one who benefits is the client, and the amount of benefit they get is directly proportional to the amount of forgiveness they get done. And so you're really talking about two phases at once. Phase 3 and phase 4 are very similar. I mean, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of self, a lot of the techniques are very similar, right?
That's right. Another thing I found helpful about phase 4 was an increased understanding of, while we are, doing these, eliciting the anger and stuff like that, after all, one of the things that happens in phase 4 is, let's just go ahead and go deep on this, shall we? The client's mistake-making part of themselves is actually the protective part of themselves. That, after all, the reason that they've been holding back and making mistakes and doing all these stupid things is because they just didn't want to be in dangerous situations, or they just didn't want to fail, they just didn't want to fall down. And so maybe the subconscious mind, this part of the subconscious mind has conspired to create feelings of anxiousness that are irrational to keep the client from ever stepping out of their shell, right? It's kind of like an internalized mother. It overprotects itself, causing the client to have these negative feelings, symptoms, behaviors, and kind of be a certain way. So it's the protective aspect of the client, or the protective part of the mind, so to speak. And so one of the things that Cal was extra thorough about that I've carried forward into my practice was, he said, just building the case while the anger is being expressed about, hey, you never let me fall down. You never let me stand up to those challenges. Like when people are talking about their failures, you hurt me when, you made me think, you made me feel, which are, by the way, the three things that we have the client say to whatever offenders in the chair, whether it's their self or a major player. You hurt me when, you made me think, you made me feel. Boy, this is a lot of information.
Hey, Elronn, one of the things I think that will clarify this is, for the age regression, you gave a thumbnail sketch of the age regression.
Yeah.
For the forgiveness of others, you gave a thumbnail sketch of forgiveness of others. I think you kind of need to do a thumbnail sketch of forgiveness of self, and maybe differentiate between the forgiveness of others and the forgiveness of self, and that'll provide a better context for the information you've been giving with regard to phase 4.
Sure. Well, what I just said about the protective part of the mind is, okay, so we have the client forgive themselves, and one of the ways that we do that was we ascertain that the mistake-making part of themselves was actually the protective part. So that reframe's got to take place in there. And then what we want to do is get the protective part to take a step back and let the self, so to speak, stand up to life's challenges and be more involved and, have a life without that negative symptom or behavior being there. Because after all, now that they've forgiven themselves for the past, the guilt, the anger toward themselves, they are ready to step forward and kind of take control of their lives. Okay, because after all, the only reason a person holds back or is afraid of success or failure or whatever is because they're just trying to protect themselves. So we want to make that get out of the way in a good phase 4 session.
Yeah, exactly right. So, in the forgiveness of others, where we're going to have them confront the offender, this other person, and we're going to use the 10 keys to forgiveness to get them, along with physically striking the pillow or doing something with the pillow, like squeezing it or whatever, and getting that emotion out, and then helping them to get insight. It's really about having the insight that shifts whatever can be shifted with regard to the perception of not fair with regard to that offender. And then also there's going to be some things that are based in reality, and that stuff just needs to be forgiven so that anger can be gone, so it'll stop motivating them to do the problematic behaviors and to experience the problematic feeling of chronic anger. And then when we do the phase 4 work of the forgiveness of self, it's pretty much the same process, except we psychically divide the individual into 2 parts. One is the self and the other is the mistake-making part. And through the insight process, we're going to reveal to the client that the mistake-making part is really the protective part of them that's made some mistakes, and this makes the use of the 10 keys to forgiveness much easier for them to gain insight through. And with that, we're able to have this forgiveness accomplished. And really the age regression and also the forgiveness of others and the forgiveness of self, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4 respectively. Now phase 5 we're not going to talk about, but that has to do with parts mediation work, which deals with secondary gain. But Elronn didn't have to worry about that, at least so far, and so it hasn't got any insights from the therapist's point of view to share with that. But they're all insight techniques, and the insight causes the subconscious mind to go in a heightened state of suggestibility, and suggestions that are received that are consistent with those recognitions become permanent, or at least very, very long lasting. Now, Elronn, believe it or not, this we're rolling along so fast. We only got about another 5 minutes to go. I'm going to ask you a couple things, and you can also throw in whatever else is really important that you want to do. And really, will you talk a little bit about the segue, about how we take those insights, and this applies to phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and even phase 5, even though you don't have any insights on that. What did you get from actually experiencing the segue that maybe you didn't really have from just academically studying it?
Everything, really. God, where do I start on that? I mean, for one thing, of course, when I'm doing sessions with Cal, we had a lot of different things going on. I mean, we were doing double sessions, and sometimes we do age regression and then move on to a forgiveness process in the same session. And so at the end of the session, Cal would tie both things together. And basically the segue is, now that you've had these insights, now that you know this and that, say it's the age regression, that you didn't die, that you're always lovable, that you got the power, okay, from the forgiveness process, that you've let go of this anger, that you're no longer affected by what this person thinks. You're now going to suggestion for what they came in for. You're now going to feel so much better and relieved. You now have so much more traction in your life. Now, if thoughts of doing that old behavior pop in your head, they'll just pop right back out again. And now you accept these suggestions more powerfully than ever before. Suggestion, suggestion, suggestion. Basically reversing all of the negatives that popped up in the session that you've been keeping track of, that the client has been taken care of in the adult-child dialogue and the informed child technique and the age regression, reversing all of the negative cognitions that were taking place during the forgiveness process and the forgiveness of self process. Some of the things that the client really that really hurt them deeply, old cognitions that they thought about themselves and stuff like that. Really taking those insights that come out of the client's mouth and tying it all together for the changes that they came in to make, because we wrap all the phases up with direct suggestion. And because after all, it's because you've had this experience today, you know this, X, Y, Z. So now your whole life's going to get better because of all these reasons. It's going to be like this. Instead of like this, now it's like this. And so it just provides a hyper state of suggestibility when those insights start to happen. You want to add anything to this, Cal? I'm going to talk about it again in a minute.
Let's see. I'm trying to think about how this relates to, because I know some of what you're saying is just general procedural stuff.
Yeah, just general procedural stuff. Well, for me personally,
what did you most highly get out of that from a hypnotherapeutic point of view? What stuck as going, aha?
For me, gosh, it's so hard to put that into words, because for me it was just an experience. Being extra thorough. I mean, really listening to every single little point of insight that your client says and being able to feed that back to them, because after all, it's what comes out of your client's mind that's the most important, because they're the experts on their own answers, their own problem. And what I found was that Cal really listened to absolutely everything I said and was able to really feed that back to me in a way that I've been able to transfer over. Once again, it's all about being with your client 100%, paying attention to what they say, to all the cognitions that come up, all the insights that come up, so that you can tie those into the segue, so that you can point out those insights. Okay, that's what it's all about.
Very cool. Okay, now let's have some fun. Put an ending on this.
On what?
As a hypnotherapist, I've changed because now I know.
The therapy never stops. As a hypnotherapist, I've changed because now I know how important it is to be with your client 100%.
Good, and that makes me feel?
And that makes me feel empowered.
Beautiful. Put another ending on it. I've changed as a hypnotherapist because now I know.
I've changed as a hypnotherapist because now I know the it's just a feeling, right? I need to be, this would work better if I was in the chair as you're asking these questions, right? I've changed because now I know the importance of how emotions really do affect behavior from an experiential point of view. As a hypnotherapist, I've changed because now I know how people can change during this process with personal experience.
And that makes me feel?
And that makes me feel excited about the work that I do.
Good. Put an ending on this. What surprised me the most was?
What surprised me the most was the thoroughness of the age regression process. And what surprised me the most was the insights that I was able to unlock from the inside of myself.
Good. And why do you recommend that other hypnotherapists go through the 5-path process themselves?
Well, number one, it's just going to make you better. I mean, to have it from an experiential point of view gives you a lot more faith in the process, so that you kind of know what you're saying, because there's only so much that testimonial evidence is going to sink into your subconscious mind. You know, you have people go, "Yeah, man, this really changed my life. Oh boy, I feel so much better. Thank you so much." And you're like, "Yeah, that's great. All right, I helped you. Okay, all right, that's great. This stuff really works." But when you can experience it for yourself, then you know that it works, right? Because you're just taking somebody's word for it. Something that we talk about in class is that to know is to know. To believe is to act and think as if you know. So when you go through the process yourself, you know it. When you have somebody else experience the process, whether you help them or whether you hear about it, you just believe it, but you don't really know until you experience it yourself. And knowledge is power, and how you apply knowledge is especially powerful. And when you know something inside, it just makes you a force to be reckoned with when you carry that forward into your own practice, doing your own sessions, and then promoting yourself as a hypnotherapist and talking about what it is that you do and how you know that it works. So when you say, "I know this stuff works," the word "know" in there is coming from a completely different place of your own subconscious mind that people are going to pick up on automatically. And that's going to carry forward and really help you out in what you do.
Wonderful. Outstanding. Now, it's time to wrap it up. If there's anything you left out, put it in now and then wrap it up.
I am done. Put a fork in me, I'm done, Cal. I got to go to yoga, and then I might go down to the kickboxing studio.
All right.
Yes,
that's awesome.
Yes,
Okay.
do a little MMA action. But you know, stay away from you know, the major organs in my body. I got to still do this work, so I'm gonna take it easy. Life's good, Cal.
It's always fun to go to the hypnotherapist, and there he or she is with a black eye.
Yeah, right. Let me help you with your anger issues.
All right, just say something to wrap it up.
All right, something. Thank you for watching. If you want to know more about how to learn this process, go to hypnosis.org. If you want to know more about my personal life, don't ask. Just, you know, track me down and see if you're lucky enough to meet me. Just kidding. Thanks for watching. My name's Elronn Ferguson. Be a 1%er, baby.
Thank you, thank you. Hey, and everybody watching and listening, check here down below. I've got a link. We've got something that's relatively new, and that is the first 150 episodes on CD. Elronn just recently got his package. He's an information overload, aren't you?
Yes. Help. I need sessions on it.
It's a whole lot of information. All right, let's see. Remember to check out our Hypnospace. I haven't talked about that in a long time, but it's a thriving little hypnosis community there. Talk about all kinds of cool stuff. Remember to go to hypnosis.org. Check out the How to Hypnotize video, Insider Tips, Tricks, and Techniques video. Play the video that I've got at the top of the screen. I'm looking down at my clipboard here. And hypnosiscenter.com for all the latest scheduled stuff. See you at the NGH convention. I got the Week of Power there. I think I'm doing a talk on age regression, and I'm doing the first ever talk and experiential workshop on 7th Path. It's a 2-hour kind of quickie class on it. And that's it. We're done. Cal Banyan signing off. This recording is the property of Cal Banyan and Cal Banyan's Banyan Publishing Incorporated. All rights reserved for private use only, may not be duplicated without written permission.